Hello everyone, and welcome to our Early Years Surgery webinar today. Really great to have you with us. We are Best Practice Network, if you haven't heard of us before. We're one of the leading apprenticeship training providers in education and early years. My name is Sarah. I work in the marketing team at Best Practice Network. And today we have Emma Redding, our apprenticeships curriculum manager, Amanda Marsden, one of our apprenticeship tutors, Courtney Pring, one of our recruitment coordinators, and Sam Brown, one of our funding coordinators. So today we're going to be taking you through our early years practitioner and educator level 2 and level 3 apprenticeships, what you'll learn, support we have to offer, how we can help you find a placement, and also how to apply. And we'll have plenty of time for questions. So as we go through, if you think of anything you want to ask us, please pop it into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and then we'll work through them at the end. Okay, so I'll now hand over to Emma to get us started.
Perfect, thank you, Sarah. So we're just going to start by looking at a bit about apprenticeships, what an apprenticeship is, and just a bit about how that would benefit you really. So what is an apprenticeship? So an apprenticeship is a learning program that allows you to learn while you earn, basically. So it allows you to develop all the knowledge and skills and behaviours that you need to support within your role while working in the workplace, and for you to gain a qualification at the end of it, basically. So you get your apprenticeship at the end of the programme. An apprenticeship standard is made up of different components. So there's something called an apprenticeship standard, which is basically you're assessed on knowledge, skills and behaviours throughout your apprenticeship programme. Every apprenticeship has maths and English included if you haven't already achieved equivalent qualification. So every apprentice on programme needs to complete maths and English functional skills if they haven't already got the equivalent qualifications. There's also something called off-the-job training, which is basically time dedicated to your learning within the workplace. When you've completed everything that you need to on programme, you will then have a meeting called a gateway meeting, which is basically where you and your employer and apprenticeship tutor would confirm that you are ready for your endpoint assessment. And then you would go and have an endpoint assessment at the end of the programme, where an external assessor assesses you against the apprenticeship knowledge, skills and behaviours. There are some additional qualifications that may be needed as part of our apprenticeships. So, for example, our Early Years Educator Level 3 apprenticeship includes a paediatric first aid qualification. If they're for whatever apprenticeship you are looking at, we will provide you with information about what components you need to complete, so you know exactly what you need to complete as part of your apprenticeship. So what are the benefits of completing an apprenticeship? It provides an opportunity, as I've mentioned, to earn money alongside learning. And you really can develop practical skills in a real work environment. So rather than just sitting in a classroom, it gives you the opportunity to learn through doing and apply your learning to a real work environment. It also allows you to have that support and mentoring within the workplace, working with experienced early years practitioners and early years leaders to support you to be the best you can in your role. It's a great opportunity for your career progression. It builds a foundation for higher level qualifications or future job roles. So there's lots of different options of what you can do once you've completed your early years apprenticeship. It's a fully funded qualification, so an opportunity for you to learn without any student loans, any tuition fees. It's completely fully funded by the government and by your employer, so nothing for an apprentice to pay at all. It helps you to gain valuable work experience that stands out to future employers. So compared to just going to college and again sitting in a classroom, it allows you to gain that valuable work experience that helps you to stand out. And gains a nationally recognised qualification. So apprenticeships, for example, support in meeting the ratio requirements in an early years setting. Early Years Educator Level 3 apprenticeship, for example, will support you with gaining a nationally recognised qualification that is recognised in ratios and with the YFS within an early years setting. And finally, it supports you throughout your apprenticeship to develop soft skills such as communication, teamwork, and problem-solving skills. So, as well as supporting you towards achieving your apprenticeship, we also support you with developing different skills to help you to succeed in your career and to help you to develop as an individual, as well as just working towards meeting the apprenticeship knowledge, skills, and behaviours. So, what will you be doing if you take on a role as an early years apprentice? The role is very varied, so there's lots of different things that you might be doing day to day. Supporting children's learning and development is a big part of the role, so supporting with making sure that you are setting up and planning engaging activities to support the children's learning and development, making sure that you have a good understanding of how to support development. Assisting with planning and delivering activities, so carrying out lots of activities in the setting, ensuring the safety and well-being of children. So that's a huge part of a role as an early years apprentice or for anyone in an early years setting. Helping with personal care, so including feeding children, changing, so assisting with children with their personal care. Following safeguarding procedures, so obviously that's a huge part of working with children, making sure that they're safe at all times, making sure that you understand all the policies and procedures for safeguarding. Communicating effectively with children, parents and colleagues. Maintaining a clean and safe environment, so making sure that you're responsible for the environment around you, making sure it's safe for the children and for staff. Supporting inclusion of all children. Keeping accurate records and observations. Participating in team meetings and training sessions, and making sure that you are engaging in any training that is required. This is just a summary of some of the things that you might be doing. So it's not limited to these, but as you can see, it's quite a wide and varied role that you would be doing. So we're focusing today on our Early Years Practitioner Level 2 and Early Years Educator Level 3 apprenticeships. Just going to talk you through the difference between these two programmes and who each programme might be suitable for. So I'll start with Early Years Practitioner Level 2. The Early Years Practitioner Level 2 apprenticeship that we offer is designed for those that are brand new to an earlier setting or are not quite ready for Level 3. So it could be that you're not confident with the slightly higher level of study, or that you're just brand new and there's lots for you to learn, basically. So those that just aren't quite ready for the Level 3. It's a 13-month programme, and there's then a 3-month endpoint assessment window. And you would need to complete functional skills, maths and English level 1 if you don't already have equivalent qualifications. There's an Early Years level 2, Early Years Practitioner level 2 diploma that you would need to complete as part of the apprenticeship. And it consists of 9 modules across the programme. Comparing that to Early Years Educator level 3. So Early Years Educator level 3 would be suitable for those that work in early years already or have some relevant experience or are ready for that slightly higher level of study. It's a slightly longer programme, so 15 months on programme that you're given, and a 3 months endpoint assessment period as well. The reason that it's a little bit longer is because there is a little bit more to it. It's a slightly more in-depth programme, so there's a little bit more time that we've allocated to it. There is functional skills, maths and English level 2. So as an apprentice, if you don't have maths and English GCSE grade 4 or a grade C or above, then you would need to complete the maths and English at level 2. Paediatric first aid must be completed for a level 3 apprentice. So that's something that you would need to work with your setting and make sure that you complete as part of your apprenticeship. And there's 11 core modules, obviously, because it's a little bit more in depth. There's a couple more modules that you focus on in that apprenticeship as well over a slightly longer period of time. One factor that may come into your decision of what apprenticeship is right for you is your confidence with maths and English. So if you do need to complete the maths and English functional skills and need to complete those on programme, but you're not that confident, sometimes it is better to start with the level 2 and build up your confidence and build up your skills by completing the maths and English at level 1 before then moving on to maths and English level 2. We can support you as well with identifying what the right programme is for you if you're not sure. So please get in touch and we can talk to you a bit more about that. So I was just going to go over now a bit about how our apprenticeships are delivered. So we first of all have virtual classrooms. So these are engaging online sessions that are delivered by tutors. So we encourage learners, to interact with each other, share their experiences from the setting, share their ideas, and we have experienced and knowledgeable tutors that run these virtual classroom sessions. We have progress reviews every 6 weeks. So you will meet with an apprenticeship tutor. So you'll be given an apprenticeship tutor that supports you all the way through your apprenticeship journey. And they will complete progress reviews with you every 6 weeks on programme. You'll be given one-to-one tutor support from your apprenticeship tutor throughout the programme. So they will adapt to make sure that all your needs are met and that they support you all the way through your programme. And we also have tutors that support things such as maths and English. So we have functional skills tutors that support learners who require that bit of extra support as well. A lot of your apprenticeship will be through workplace learning. So you are doing a lot of learning, obviously, in your workplace, being supported by a mentor in your setting and learning through completing the job. Completing independent research, that could be inside and outside of your setting. And we also have BPN Boost, which is our personal development, career information, advice and guidance and welfare programme. So we have a programme where we have online classes and pre-recorded podcasts and lots of resources to support you with your overall career development and well-being as well. So just now looking at what you need to apply for one of our apprenticeships. So you must be 16 or over and meet the points on the screen to qualify for one of our apprenticeships. So you need to either have your maths and English GCSE at a grade C or a grade 4, or, like I mentioned earlier, be able to achieve both of these on programme through functional skills. So we complete functional skills, maths and English level 2 for a level 3 programme or level 1 for a level 2 programme. You need to have funding agreed with your setting. So you basically need an employer who will support you with funding and agrees to fund the apprenticeship for you, basically. You need to also have UK residency for more than 3 years and support from your employer, or we can support you as well in finding an employer. But you need to have an employer in order to do the apprenticeship who is willing to support you with completion of your apprenticeship. We will be able to answer any questions relating to eligibility at the end, and you can also contact us to discuss any specific requirements. So we're now just going to go on and look at additional support, and I'm going to hand over to Mandy to talk you through additional learning support.
Hello, good afternoon. Excuse the voice. So yeah, I was an apprenticeship tutor, but I'm now the Senko coordinator. So I support all tutors that have any learners with any kind of additional learning needs. So next slide, please, Emma. So what is additional learning support? What do we mean? It's basically anybody that has a need and they need extra time, different resources, adaptations made to the program. So this could be somebody with dyslexia, it could be somebody with a visual impairment, it could be somebody with a long-standing medical illness. Whatever it is, there are no barriers to you engaging and progressing and achieving with an apprenticeship with best practice. What we do is we would meet with you as a tutor when you've completed your first day of learning. We would talk to you about what your concerns are, any support you've had previously at school, if you've got an education and healthcare plan, if you've got a diagnosis for autism or Asperger's or ADHD, whatever it might be, and we will work with you to agree a support plan, and then we will do everything we can to help you enjoy, engage, and achieve. Next, please, Emma. Anybody can request additional learning support. You do not need to have any kind of previous diagnosis. It could be that simply you're struggling to understand large amounts of information. So we cover 4 general areas of need. So that could be communication and interaction. So somebody with autism who finds it difficult to communicate and be in social situations. Somebody that has cognition and learning needs. So this could be dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, or just a specific learning need. Anybody that has any social, emotional, and mental health difficulties. So obviously it's a broad range. It could be anxiety, depression, bipolar, or just really worried, and this causes you to not engage, to be worried about completing. So we would just talk to you, we would spend extra time with you, and we would modify the program to meet your needs. Anybody with sensory or physical needs, as I mentioned, a vision impairment, a hearing impairment, a physical disability, whatever it is, we would just work with you, agree a support plan, work with your setting if you're happy for us to talk to your setting about your needs, and then just help you achieve and succeed. Next, please, Emma. So at best practice, we identify any additional learning needs. So you may come on program, you may disclose that you know that there is a need that you already have. So you may have had support at school for dyslexia, or you may have a medical condition and you have a prescription for that, or a diagnosis of ADHD, whatever it might be. Again, we just talk to you and we work with you to support you and create a support plan. We complete a form called a needs analysis. In this form, we talk about what needs have been identified, what support is needed, if it's support just for the apprenticeship, or if you need support for your maths and English as well. And then every month we review this information, and then we can look to put reasonable adjustments in place. So extra time, a reader, a scribe, anything that you've had previously, we would just ask you to provide any evidence of that, or we could work with you to complete an assessment for cognition and learning needs. And then hopefully that would identify those reasonable adjustments that you might need. Next, please. Okay, so if there's any questions, are there any questions in the Q&A box now, Sarah? Because obviously I'm going to drop off shortly.
Not related to that, as not yet related to that.
I'll
So
stay on for 15 more minutes, but it's over to Courtney now.
thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. So just to run through the term unplaced. So as mentioned before, in order to complete an apprenticeship program with us, you would need an employer. So luckily, that's something that we can support you with. So the term unplaced learner, so when you apply for an apprenticeship on our website, and you do not have an employer, you'll be classed as an unplaced learner. So that's just a term that will help us as a recruitment team to just know that you do need an employer. So sorry, next slide. So what happens after you apply? So you'll be placed into our unplaced cohort. So that will come through to us, which we review every 3 to 5 days. So as mentioned, that will just sort of help us to ensure that we do help you find a placement. And then you'll be contacted by one of our program coordinators, so they can sort of help support you find a placement. So they can either contact you by email or by the phone, either by sending you a sort of screening form by email for you to sort of go through and complete, or this can be by phone. So what we would do first of all is that we check our current vacancies to see if we have any current vacancies in your area, and then we'll sort of go through those details with you. And of course, you can sort of let us know whether that would be suitable. If not, however, we can sort of reach out to other sort of employers in that area to see whether they'd like to take you on as an apprentice. So once we sort of go through our screening form, that will sort of go through some eligibility, your interest in sort of applying for a nursery apprenticeship, and sort of go through your current experience and sort of run through some interview preparation as well, just to ensure you're prepped and ready for any interviews with the employer. Next slide, please. So what will happen if you are selected for an interview? So we will sort of have that discussion with the employer and sort of speak to them about how those interviews will work. So if you are invited in for an interview, it's important that you do sort of stay in touch with us and the employer just so we can get that scheduled in. So employers can sort of have these interviews sort of slightly differently. So the first stage tends to be sort of a standard Q&A, just like our screening call. And then, of course, if that tends to go well, they can then invite you into the setting to sort of engage and interact with the children. And then they can sort of give you some feedback at the back of that. So yeah, it sort of depends on sort of how the first stage of the interview goes, and sort of whether they'd like to invite you back and sort of how you engage and interact with the children. But of course, you know, interviews can be quite nerve-wracking, so we can sort of give you that support and sort of give you that preparation for those interviews in time as well. And then once those interviews are completed, of course, we'll sort of be in touch with those employers, and they can sort of give us feedback on how that went, and we can feed that back to you as well. If you are successful, we will then process your application to start the enrolment process. So you'll just sort of need to go through standard employment checks, so such as applying for a DBS if you do not have one already. So the employer and ourselves can sort of help you apply for that DBS if needed as well. And then they can sort of request those references if you do have those already as well, and any sort of identification as well. Next slide, please. Lovely. So is it guaranteed you'll find me employer? So unfortunately, it's sort of not guaranteed that we can find you an employer. But of course, we'll sort of help you along that process as well. What we will sort of encourage you to do is that if you guys know your area better than we do, so definitely do sort of get in touch with any vacancies in your area to sort of see whether they'd like to take you on as an apprentice. We will send you over some brochures as well to sort of help you approach those employers. How long would it take to find a vacancy? So the duration can vary, so that it'll sort of depend on where you're located and sort of the market at that time, and sort of whether whether it's busy or not, if any employers would like to sort of take on any apprentices at that time. And then what support is offered. So as mentioned before, we have various brochures and interview guidance. So yeah, we will sort of be your main support system along this process.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So hopefully there's lots of information there. So hopefully you feel more informed about our early years practitioner and early years educator apprenticeships. So if you decide to apply, it's really easy. You just do that through the website, and you can see the link there, and also the QR code to scan. And just to let you know, though, there is a deadline to apply, which is Sunday, the 22nd of December. And that's to start early next year. So yeah, busy time of year. So just make sure to get your application in by midnight on Sunday. And now we're going to move on to onto questions. So if anything cropped up for you that you want to know more about, or anything you're unsure of, if you click the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and just type your question in there, then we will work through them. Now. You'll also be receiving an email with a recording and the slides from this webinar today, and it will have our contact details on there, so you can also get in touch with the team if you think of anything else you want to know. So we do have a question here, so I'll go straight to that. Can I pursue an apprenticeship in my 20s as someone with no experience in the field, as I went to college for different subjects in my teens? So would that be maybe Emma? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry, I was on mute there. So yeah, that would be absolutely fine. Apprenticeships are ideal for somebody that is new to the field without any experience. So it would just be looking at what level you think is suitable for you from that, whether you wanted to go onto the level 2 or straight onto the level 3. That's something we could support you with. But yeah, it's absolutely suitable for somebody that's completely new to the field and has studied something else completely different before.
Brilliant, thank you. How much time do you think the apprentice will need to set aside each week to complete the workload? Emma, again,
Take that
that's
one as
probably
well.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So as part of an apprenticeship, there is a requirement for something called off-the-job training. So an employer will be supporting with time each week dedicated to your apprenticeship, to developing your learning against the knowledge, skills and behaviours of the apprenticeship. I can't necessarily say how much time outside of work to set aside, because it's going to be individual for everyone. But I would just say that you are given lots of support in the workplace and through your employer as well. And your tutor can also support, if you are concerned about the time commitment, your tutor can support you with adapting how we deliver the programme. So if you prefer doing more professional discussion, for example, rather than lots of written work, we can work with you closely to adapt to make sure that we can help you with planning your time and make sure that it's not overwhelming for you.
Brilliant, thank you. Another one here, is it compulsory to have maths GCSE grade C? That be either Sam or Emma?
Do you want me to take it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, Emma.
I'll take it. So you either need to have already achieved maths GCSE grade C, or you need to be prepared to work towards the functional skills maths on programme. So you don't have to have that already starting the programme. You just need to be at the level where you can work towards your functional skills and achieve those on programme. You will need to complete initial assessments at the beginning of the programme just to make sure that you are at the correct level, that you are capable of achieving those while on programme, basically.
Great, and sort of linked to that, while we're on the subject of maths, somebody is asking what's involved in the maths study and what do you cover? I guess for anyone who is, I don't know, a bit nervous of maths, I don't know if you can just reassure about the support on offer.
Yeah. There's lots of support available. We have functional skills maths and English tutors. They do online virtual classroom sessions. They do one-to-one sessions as well for those that do need that additional level of support. There's online platforms that we use, BKSB, and different online resources that we use as well. It covers things like number, shape, space and measure, handling data, and there is a exam which is part non-calculator, part calculator at the end. Functional skills are more kind of practical and functional than doing a GCSE. So they're a bit more kind of applied to kind of real life. But I would just encourage you to please not worry about the functional skills. If that's something you're worried about, that's something we can discuss with you and identify what support you need. So we do give lots of support in that area.
Great, thank you. Somebody, it's quite specific, but I'll go through this to see if you can kind of broaden it out that might be relevant to others. Somebody has a degree in another subject, would like to start my learning journey to qualify as an early years educator, has GCSEs in English and maths equivalent, currently employed in a setting. Would you advise to apply for a QTS course or start on level 3 apprenticeship to qualify as an early years educator? Emma.
There's different routes available for you. So you can complete, there is also another option that you could complete if you are in, for example, a more senior role. We also have the Early Years Lead Practitioner Level 5 apprenticeship, which is available. What route is right for you is really down to what you're looking for, really. The Early Years Educator Level 3 is designed to support you in being the best you can in an early years practitioner, early years educator role, and to be able to meet the ratio requirements within a setting. Obviously, there are different routes that you can look into based on what's right for you. The Early Years Educator Apprenticeship is a really great practical way of learning. The benefits of apprenticeships, as I've mentioned, are through you can learn on the job through the practical hands-on learning. So I would really encourage you to look at the benefits of the apprenticeship. If you are in, if there's anybody that is in a more senior role, for example, then it's worth looking at the Early Years Lead Practitioner apprenticeship that we offer as well. But yeah, it's something we can support on an individual basis with advising and supporting with a bit more as well.
Great, thank you. Sam, somebody asking about funding, and I thought it'd be good to just to touch on that, if you don't mind. Could you just explain a little bit how funding works, and especially from the learner's perspective?
Yeah. So funding is usually quite a tricky thing to talk about, but from the learner's perspective, it's an awful lot easier. Basically, from a learner perspective, it's completely free. A learner, an apprentice, would never have to pay anything for their apprenticeship. It's technically illegal for your employer to ask you to pay for the apprenticeship for any training. So from your perspective, completely free, as long as you hit the key points of being a UK resident for at least the last 3 years, and then being employed at the specific setting. So you just have to have an contract of employment, and 3 years ordinarily resident. So that can be on a visa, as long as that visa doesn't run out halfway through the apprenticeship. So it's 18 months for the level 3. If you've got that visa for the entirety of that 18 months, absolutely free for you for the apprenticeship. Your employers will have to pay either 5% of the total cost or technically nothing if they pay into the apprenticeship levy. That depends on the size of the employer. So if it's a really big employer, it'll come out of the government funding. If it's a small employer, they'll only have to pay 5% of the cost anyway. So it's actually really cheap for the employers too. But yeah, long story short, it's basically free. Is the good news.
Thanks, Sam. Maybe another one for you actually, Sam. Whilst undertaking the level 3 apprenticeship, is this included in nursery ratios? Is ratios something you could talk a little bit about?
I believe you don't currently count in nursery ratio if you're a level 3 apprentice until you finish the apprenticeship, at which point you would count as in ratio.
I can help
that's
with
correct?
that, actually, in that it's recently been updated in the EYFS that a level 3 apprentice, for example, can be counted for the level below their level of study. So if you were a level 3 apprentice, then you can be counted as a level 2 member of staff. So not fully qualified as level 3, but you can count for the level below, as long as your employer deems you as competent at that level.
Well, okay, I've learned something new as well.
Thank you. Can I start a level 3 apprenticeship immediately, or is it recommended to start with level 2 and work my way up as somebody with no direct experience?
Do you
you,
take that one?
Emma? Yeah.
So it's all down to your individual requirements, really. So we might recommend if you're quite nervous about starting studying, haven't studied for a while, or are a little bit nervous about the level of study, that the level 2 is an ideal stepping stone for somebody who's new. If you're pretty confident in the kind of academic side of things and you're pretty confident to kind of step up to that higher level, then you can go straight on to the level 3. You don't always need to do the level 2 first, but it's entirely down to individual needs, really. So we review that based on each individual, and we can support you with that if you're unsure of which one to go on to.
Great, thank you. Courtney, one for you. Would I apply direct to you, or does the preschool I will be working at apply on my behalf? Oh, actually, that's an application sort of question, isn't it?
Yes, I can take that one. So if you're currently working at a preschool, you can apply yourself. Your details would need to be sort of applied through anyway. But of course, if you'd like to sit down with your manager and sort of go through those details, that's absolutely fine as well.
Thank you. Can I complete this apprenticeship if I am 59? Who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one. Yep. There is no age limit. Anybody is entitled to come on and achieve an apprenticeship. If you have your maths and English, then you've got experience of working in the field, then you could just go for the level 3. If you haven't done study for a long time and you haven't got your maths and English, then I would recommend the level 2.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mandy. It's such a good point, isn't it? Because people often think apprenticeships are for younger people. So yeah, I'm glad that question was asked. Okay, so any more questions, do pop them in the Q&A, or click the Q&A button and pop them in there. But as I said earlier, we will be sending the recording and the slides with our contact details on for our early years team. So if you want to ask anything else, then yeah, please do get in touch with us. Our friendly team is always there to help you, and yeah, we hope to see you and welcome you onto our next cohort of apprentices. But I think that the questions have stopped there. So thank you for your time today. I hope you found it useful and took away lots of information. And yeah, we hope to welcome you onto a programme soon. Thanks, guys.